There's one down here in the Cubs first.
All right, guys, we talked about that this was a very low-end severe weather threat day, but it wouldn't be impossible to get a warning out of these storms. That's exactly what we just had pop up from the National Weather Service in Cincinnati. They have put a tornado warning out for Carroll County. This is outside of Carrollton, so if you're over there in Carrollton and you're worried about this, I promise you this is not a warning for you. In fact, I'm going to be completely honest and say this is probably the weakest rotation I have ever seen on a storm that went tornado warned. There is hardly anything with this right now. Maybe they're just trying to be a little bit more preemptive with this and get ahead of the game as it's traveling through Sanders up towards Sparta along 71 toward Glencoe. This will likely stay just south of Warsaw. It barely encompasses, in fact, is moving out of Carroll County as we speak. So there's not a lot going on with this one. And that's just me being completely honest with you. This storm hardly, I would say hardly warrants any sort of warning. If I were to put something on this, it would have been a severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible tag. So I'm going to zoom in on this for you here, and we're going to go over to our Storm View HD. This warning goes out for the, let me double check this here, for the next 28 minutes. So it goes until 8 o'clock, and we got to stay on this the entire time. And I know that there are folks that were watching baseball right now, and they're like, are you serious that we are cutting away from the Cubs? And I think it was the Yankees playing. Yeah, unfortunately, that's what we have to do for this warning here. This is not something that I would have personally put a warning, and I very rarely, if you ever watch my severe weather coverage, it is exceptionally rare that I ever say I wouldn't do this, but the National Weather Service has, or I would have gone a different direction. I'm usually in pretty decent agreement, may give my opinion on something, but in a scenario like this, there have been very few areas of rotation today. I would say that maybe the National Weather Service in Cincinnati has kind of jumped the gun on this one. It's traveling directly up 71 and is just barely, the rotation is just barely to the north of it. You don't even really see a hook with this portion of the line of storms. You see a lot of lightning with this one, so it is a little bit stronger. It's a stronger updraft than the rest of the line. But as I said before, it is east of Carrollton, so if you're in Carroll County, you're south of VV specifically, that's going to be where the area of rotation is. It's super broad. It's exceptionally weak. At this point, I do not expect anything to touch down. I even took it back a couple of scans, and I didn't see any significant rotation here. In fact, it was so low. I had just walked into the back weather office for a very brief moment, and they popped it up within the 30 seconds I was in the back weather office. So this is the velocity data here. You don't even see any green on the map touching the red. So this is very, very, very broad, meaning weak, not intense rotation here. There are going to be some folks that are really upset that we're cutting into coverage by FCC rules. We just have to. As long as there's a warning in our area, we've got to do this. If there were another way that we could do it, we would do our best to do so. And I possibility, Brendan, while you're in the control room there, if you can actually potentially get the game up, tell me in my ear if that's something that we're able to do. We'd like to do that for you guys because I know that you want to be able to watch that. Thank you. The team is working on trying to also having us, so you'll hear our audio, you will see our maps, you'll see what we're doing here from the Weather Center, but we also want you to be able to see the game. Let me zoom out a little bit and give you guys an overall broad view of what's going on. We are almost entirely done, and I'm just going to put this into the motion over the last hour. Let's see, there we go. Over the last hour, see how slow moving these storms are? They're only 25 to 30. There we go. All right, we're back. These storms are really, really slow movers. We're going to hop onto the green screen briefly here. And as these storms are moving east, they've barely been able to get enough momentum to have some rotation at times. Most of it has been what we call transient. It's weak, kind of moves up and down the line, doesn't last more than just a few minutes, and a majority of it was down in Marion County, south of, I think, parts of Washington, little areas of rotation, down into Taylor, Greene, and Adair. There were very small areas of rotation, and that's where I thought a warning would eventually pop up if we did get one, but we didn't until we got this one up here. So this is outside of Henry County. It does include Carroll County, the eastern edge, but it's already moving out of that county within probably the next 15 minutes, and then making its way up or south of Cincinnati. This is exceptionally weak rotation. I just can't reiterate that enough here. And it's not a phrase that I usually use on a tornado warning, especially when it first comes out. Usually when it's strengthening and is about to have its high signal, but that's just not the case here. So this is really weak. With the National Weather Service in Cincinnati, why they decided to pull this? There may be something else that they saw that we didn't. Maybe a picture from somebody. So, okay, so let's Pittsburgh, Indiana, they reported a possible funnel cloud, but that's not. I don't know why they rotation prompting in Primble County. Yeah, thing that we have seen. Thank you so much. I appreciate. All right, Masters baseball game routed into the system for us. That's what we're working on right now. Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate you a lot. So if you want to see the game, we're going to try and get it up for you. The score may be covered, but at least you'll hopefully be. Let me zoom back into this storm system, or this portion of the line of storms, back in motion here, and show you that there was minuscule rotation that has been observed within this portion of the line of storms. And I'll play it out for you over the last hour. Normally, reds and greens come together, and that's what, now this is moving with the storm. If I could pull up, and I can't right now, not on this one, but I will on another one. I'll pull up the storm relative, so it takes into account the actual motion of the storm itself, and even that, north of Sanders, this is, I know if, honestly, if Mark were here, I think he would be in the exact same frame of mind as I would. This just doesn't warrant a warning, in my opinion. So north of Sanders, you're good. North of Sanders, we have this very small inbound wind that you can see back toward the radar in Louisville, and then everything else down here is outbound. So this is where we have the rotation right along 71. They've cut it down just a little bit further, but including Sanders in northeastern Carroll County. Again, this is just south of Cincinnati. It's going to ride right along 71 and stay on the northern side of it. So Glen Cove folks, I think you guys could be in the path of this broad rotation. Warsaw as well, Patriot too, you're included in the warning. All of these places are outside of our viewing area except for Sanders itself, but we got to stay on this as long as the warning is there. Give it another 10 minutes or so and we'll be able to probably hop off the air as long as they're willing to chop off the back edge of this warning within the next 10 minutes. And hopefully they will take into account that we're a different TV market area than what they service up there in Cincinnati. So if they can chop that out and that'll allow us to go off the airwaves, that would be really good. But this is very difficult as a meteorologist to point to something like this and say, oh, here's your area of rotation, when it honestly almost seems like there is none. I think that we have seen some decent rotation, some mid-level rotation at times, especially closer to closer to Indianapolis today. They had multiple warnings up in that direction. But this is our first one of the day. We knew it wasn't impossible to get one. I don't think that this is going to put anything on the ground. I'll just be completely honest with you. You guys can come back to me here at the desk if you want. This is just such a low chance of anything actually developing out of this. Compared to the rest of the line, there is more lightning here compared to what's closer to Cincinnati. Further south, we've got decent lightning. That usually indicates an upward trend in intensity with the storm system. So Frankfort, if you're east of Shelbyville, all of this stuff is already out of your area. But near Frankfort, we've got some decent lightning there. So some stronger, a stronger portion of the line of storms there, controlled by the National Weather Service in Louisville. They have been very good all day long about seeing areas of rotation, small areas, and saying in our National Weather Service chat over here, they'll say, hey, we see a small area of rotation. If it continues for the next few scans, we'll put a warning on it. Usually dies out really fast. So that has been what we call transient rotation throughout the day today. And I think that honestly, what little rotation there was on this storm is now out of Carroll County. So let's give it a few more minutes. I'm going to ask the National Weather Service in Ohio, in Wilmington, Ohio, if they are willing to take us out of this warning. Yeah, Mark is already in the chat saying, looking like the rotation has left Carroll County. So they just issued a new one a minute ago. Maybe they chopped that back. Within the next minute, I'll be able to tell whether or not this warning no longer includes Carroll County. And it is right on the edge of the county. I'm looking at the TV up there. So They will probably do that within the next few minutes. I think Mark is probably watching right now. You're just kind of at a loss for words when there's not much to talk about with a scenario like this. I can give you guys good news if you want that. You look at this line and it is right on the edge of our viewing area. So the last of the showers down in Adair County in eastern Taylor. No rotation on those. At least there hasn't been over the last 10 minutes. Let me double check down there. And I don't see anything. Nifley area, Columbia, I don't see any rotation for you. So there's some good news for you guys where the last of the showers are in our viewing area. Besides what's right on the edge of Shelby County. Again, that's well east of Shelbyville. You guys don't have to worry about anything. And then moving out of Carroll County, VV, you guys are no longer included in the warning for good reason, probably because there was never threat in the first place, but also because there's, well, the storm has passed you. Carson, you guys are included in this right now along 71. Warsaw as well, Napoleon, Glencoe. This is not a situation where I would say you have to get into your safe place right now. I think this is probably some briefly gusty winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour is the most likely scenario. I think a severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible would have sufficed for this. But even that, probably too much. Let's see. National Weather Service in Ohio has not gotten back to us yet to let us know what their thoughts are on about canceling this warning early or at least chopping it back and getting it out of Carroll County. We would love to get off of your TV screens if we could so we could show that game. I don't know if we have an update, Brendan, on what the game situation is. They're still working on it? All right, that's all right. You got a score for me? Maybe I can give that to them. That's more information than what I'm going to get from these radar scans. In all honesty, there is hardly anything to talk about with this. So, for folks that are up in Carroll County, I want you to know that you are safe. This storm, no longer a threat to you in Carroll County. I'm going to leave it paused where it's at right now. I'll head over to the green screen. If you're in Carroll County, I know you've got this warning. The sirens are still going off. Those that are in eastern Carroll County, you had an area of rotation that was overhead and it was super broad, super weak, didn't amount to much at all. National Weather Service that controls Cincinnati, they have managed to put a warning on this, and so you've got the sirens going off, but I promise any rotation that's associated with this is south of Warsaw. It's out of Carroll, and you don't have to worry about it. What was it, Brendan? 1-0. Cubs are up, all right? They playing, who is it right now? It's not the Nets. Is it the Yankees? I don't know who they're playing. But yeah, the Cubs, Yankees. All right, Cubs are up 1-0 right now for those that are wondering about the score. If we can get it on your screen, we will. But you know, just to reiterate, there is not much to talk about weather-wise here. In fact, I would say for the rest of the night, the severe weather threat is now entirely over. So there is nothing left for us when it comes to severe weather in Kentuckiana. There could be a couple little light sprinkles here and there. Let me throw this into motion. There are up near Dayton. There are a couple of warnings up there. And you know, you can actually see the spin. Maybe I can bring up Cincinnati's. I don't think I have it. But you can actually see the spin of the overall system up there near Cincinnati. And so I understand, north of Cincinnati, up near Dayton, I understand why warnings would come out for that, because you can see these storms spinning a little bit more than down here. They're trying to wrap around this area of low pressure that's further off to the west. So this storm system has occluded. It's a mature system. The cold front has already slid by. In fact, where we have this line down here, that is the front, or at least these storms have just made their way out ahead of it. And they're passing through, and we talked about all day long and all day yesterday and the day before. Once that main line, which is this one, goes through, your whole severe weather threat is done. I still see the outline of that tornado warning covering part of Carroll County. So the sirens are still going off for you guys there in eastern Carroll County. You may be thinking, hey, am I underneath the threat? You're just now tuning in. Absolutely not. You are good to go in eastern Carroll County. Those that are in VV, those that are near Warsaw, you still got that little area of rotation near you. I think it's really traveling right over 71 there. Yeah, near Glencoe toward Napoleon. That's probably the best bet if there is any rotation. You can, in fact, I'll pause this. It's kind of what we call a comma head. It's not hard to see that this is shaped a bit like a comma. So you have these winds where I've drawn this line south of 71 that are butting out on the southern side, and those are probably pretty fast winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour or so, and then it wraps around like this. And that's basically a comma. Inside there, at times, you will get rotation just enough to throw up a tornado. Usually quick, brief, doesn't last real long. Maybe that's why they were warning based on the look of our reflectivity data. But, you know, there's just, man, it's just tough. It's just tough to be able to talk about this much longer when there's not anything, and there you go. Our warning just expired. They have cut it back. Brendan, we're going to take it back to the Weather Center here because they have officially cut back that warning, taking it off to the northeast of Carroll County. No part of Kentuckiana is underneath a warning for severe thunderstorms or tornadoes at this point. I'm going to make it a real quick throwback to the break here in just a second. Just to reiterate, the storms are almost entirely done for Kentuckiana. We have a few that are left down in south central Kentucky and Adair County. Those do not have rotation with them. The rest of this line is now east of our viewing area, no longer a threat to us, and whatever you get for the rest of the evening is going to be just a couple light sprinkles here or there, a brief downpour possible. Most of us will be dry and we'll be safe. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening out there, Saturday evening I should say, and the rest of your weekend. More rain to come tomorrow, and hopefully no more warnings to come out for the rest of the evening with these storms. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back later tonight at 10 o'clock with more updates.
And Haps still alive, fighting off another freed offering.